to be able to help you guys go through the Explore Color assignment. This one's a little bit complicated, and it's a way to introduce you on how to build colors in Illustrator. And then what we're going to do is we're going to export those colors in what's known as a .ase file for Adobe Swatch Exchange file, and then we're going to use those color swatches in another project. Now, you're going to have to download the color template AI file, and I want you to file open that file instead of don't click and drag it into a document. You need to file open it, and this is what the document looks like. And if you notice, there are several blocks here, and those are the hues or the colors, and you should have read about different color models in the reading, and the different color models that we've dealt with are red, green, blue, RGB, and CMYK. Now this color model is based on the CMYK color model, and so if you notice, each of these squares, I'm going to zoom in, has the amount of cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. So 100% means it's 100% of that color. And what you're going to do is you're going to create boxes, and you're going to fill them with that color, and then you're going to create a permanent swatch for that. So now if you go over to your swatches, you're going to notice that there aren't any colors in your swatches. There's just black and white, no color, and then this is called registration, which you don't need to worry about right now. And so the colors aren't here for you just to pick. Now if I go to my color palette, it looks like a little painter's palette, and I'm going to pull that out here. If I go to this upper right hand corner and say show options, it's going to give me my color sliders here. Now what you're going to do is you're going to create a rectangle here, and the rectangles, if you notice in the assignment, tells you exactly what size they are 1/2 inch by 1 inch. So I'm just going to make a 1/2 inch rectangle that's 1 inch tall. If you remember, the default is black outline and a white fill, and I'm going to make the fill nothing so I can see what color it should be. So there's my square. Now if I go here to my fill and I put in this box here 0, and then I hit tab, it'll take me to the next box, and I hit tab, and then that's the color that I want it to be, and I don't want a stroke around it. So now what I'm going to do is I've got this color here, and we're going to drag this color into our swatches, from our color to our swatches. Okay, so now we've got this color swatch. Now if I double click on it, then I'm going to be able to get some settings, and I'm going to just make sure that it's named the same percentages as I have down here in my color. Now there's one other key that you need to make sure and do so that we can start to create the tints, which is adding white, and the shades, which is adding black, is to make sure that you change this to a spot color. Now I'm going to show you in a minute what that means, but it just needs to be a spot color, and hit OK. And then if you notice, it has a little white triangle on that outside edge that makes it a spot color. That shows you that it's a spot color. So now what we can do is we can take this square, and we're going to duplicate it across, and I'm going to actually make it so I can see my numbers inside here. And then if you remember, you can do Command D, that's transform again, and it'll duplicate that over. Now what you're going to notice is that these colors change by a certain percentage, 25% of each color, and you're going to see how they change when you get to that next step. Because we've got cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. So if you look at this color lineup here, we've got cyan, this one's the magenta, yellow, and then we're going to add black to these colors to create tints and shades. So what you're going to do is you're going to go through each of these, and you're going to build this next color. So now I've got this color here, and I'm going to create a new color. So I'm gonna, if you just click on this little black one, it'll bring these sliders back up. And I'm gonna make one that is 0 and 125 and 0. So that's gonna make my next color. I'm gonna click and drag that into my swatches. I'm gonna double click on it, get rid of that little 1 here, and I'm gonna make it a spot color. So that's my next color. And then I can do none here and make sure that this is filled with that color. So then we're going to create a new color. So it looks like we've got 100% my magenta and 50% yellow and 0 black. That creates this next color. I'm going to double click on it and make it a spot color. So I've got that one. I'm going to do this next one here. Click back on the black. 0, 100, 75, and 0. So that makes this next color. I'm going to hit double click on it and make it a spot color. So I'm just going to go back and fill these in. So this one's my next one. And you can double check against that to make sure it's the right number. And then this one right here would be the next one. And then you want to make sure it doesn't have any stroke and it only has a fill. Okay, so these start to be a gradation this direction. I'm going to go this direction a little bit so you can start to see these colors. So we're going to create this color here. And this color is 25, 100, 0, and 0. And so you can see it has a little bit more blue in it, or cyan in it, and I've got to make this a spot color. So I'm going to double click on it, spot color, and I'm going to click and drag that over. So you can use whatever method works for you. And then make sure that you're saving things every so often. So I'm going to save this as, and I'm going to maybe name it color, and then add my name to it, however you want to save it. Now this is going to be the next thing that we're going to do is, and I'm actually going to pull one of these boxes over here, and I'm going to build this color. So this color is going to be 100 and 0 and 75 yellow and 0 black. So that makes it a green color, and we're going to click and drag that into our palette. We're going to make it a spot color and hit OK. And then we're going to make this swatch, this color. So this is the color or hue that we're going to use. Now, if you notice above this is adding tints, and then this is adding shades. So whenever somebody says, I want to see a tint of that color, that actually means that you're adding white to the color. Now this is different than opacity. And just to kind of demonstrate that difference, I'm going to take this same block and copy it, and then I'm going to make a copy over here. Now if I go up here to the top and I add opacity to this, or reduce the opacity or the opaqueness, we're going to go maybe 50% here. What you can see is it adds a transparency to it, so you can actually see through the shape and see what's happening underneath it. That's not adding white to it. It may seem like it's adding white because the paper in the background is white, but if you notice, you can start to see these black circles underneath. Now the difference would be is now that this is a spot color, my color slider changes to a 0 to 100 percentage, and if I change this to 50%, 51% I guess is what I had that. If you notice, they are slightly different. This is adding white to that color, or adding a tint to that color. Now that's how I want you to do it. I don't want you to reduce the opacity. I want you to add a tint or add white. Now if you notice that, and I'm going to double click on here and change this back to a process color. If you notice that your color, let's see, has these color sliders instead of the tint slider there, then you're going to be able to know that you just need to change it to a spot color. And then you're going to get this slider here. So actually, let me do it with this color here. We'll do 100, because once we've created it and we've used it, then it's going to leave it as that spot color. So let's say I've got this color here, and then I go to create my tints of this, and you go up here and you notice that it's giving you the CMYK color sliders. All you need to do is make sure that you go back to the swatch and double click on it and make it a spot color. And then if you notice, the slider changes. So I'm going to save here. And so then what you're going to do is you're going to make a 1/2 inch circle. So I'm going to go get my circles over here, if it'll let me select it, and make a 0.5 by 0.5 inch circle. You got to make sure it's got the right color in there. And then we're going to add 20% white, which means it's going to be 80% of the color. And then we're going to go to this next one, and we're going to add 40%, which means it's 60% of the color. So you've just got to do a little bit of math here to subtract it. So this one's going to be 20% of the color. So now we've got our hue or our color, and we've got tints in 20% increments. So this is the exact same color with white added to it. Now, if you get a little bit, we're going to test this out. We're going to add this color. We might be able to find a trick to be able to do them all at the same time. So we're going to do these colors here. And then I'm going to fill this with that color. And it's probably good if you do them kind of maybe from the left to the right, so you can keep them in order. I've kind of mixed mine up a little bit to make sure I've got these all at 100%. And then there. So what you can do is, instead of having to do each one, if you have all these with the correct color, you can go up here, and if you notice, it doesn't say what color it is, but you can actually change this, and you can change all of them at the same time. So that might be a way to be able to simplify your process a little bit. I can duplicate it up, and we'll go 40, duplicate it up, and do 20. Oh, it looks like I got 42%. Nope, 40. Okay. And just make sure that they're lined up. Okay, so now we've got our tints there. So that's the hue or the color with white added to it. Ignore opacity. I don't want you to use opacity. I want you to use the color here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go and we're going to add a shade. And so in the bottom here, you notice that there are shades. And shades of colors are the original hue or color with black added to it. Now this one's going to be a little bit trickier. So now I've got our original color, and what we're going to do is we're going to take this color and we're going to duplicate that color. So you have to have it selected, and then if you go to new swatch, it's going to bring all of that information up. And if you notice, it says it's a copy, and what we're going to do is we're going to add 20% black. So I'm going to change the name to K20 and add 20% black in the slider. And so if you notice, the color shifts, and I'm going to hit OK, and it's going to create a new color, and I've got to actually put that back to the original color, and then I'm going to make a copy of this circle, and I've got to make sure it's at 100% so it doesn't add any white, and then add that new color. And if you notice, if I double click on it, it's got 20% of that. So if I look back at what this original color is, and then I'm going to double click on this, and if you notice, it's 100% 0, 75, but 20% black. So then what we're going to do is I'm going to make a copy here, and then I can either go new swatch, or with it selected, I can click on this little page tool here, and then here we're going to add 40%. Make sure we change the color here and hit OK, and now it's got 40%. And I'm going to actually get rid of that library thing so it doesn't pop up in front of things again. And then we're going to make a duplication, and I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to add 60%. So you got to make sure and change the swatch name every time and hit OK. And then we're going to go back to this next one. We're going to make a duplication, and then we're going to add 80%. Okay, and then we're going to hit save. Now there's one other thing that you're going to need to do is do these top squares as well. And you could start with these, or you can go through this chart, but all of these holes need to be filled with the appropriate colors or hues and the tints and the shades. Now, once you have those tints and shades created, you're going to have a whole bunch of swatches. Your whole thing is going to be filled with swatches here. And you're going to go up to this upper right-hand corner. And with this in this upper right-hand corner, you're going to save this swatch library as a .ase file. And so if you notice, it gives you a file format, only gives you one option. And I'm going to put it on my desktop, and I'm going to not name it .ase. And then I'm going to hit save. And then it's going to have this, just ignore this little window here. And then what you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to open that swatch library for another project and find that file, so desktop, and you can find that file and it'll load those swatches into your new document. Now, in the assignment it says time frame 40 minutes. It might take a little bit longer than that, but see if you can find ways to duplicate the circles over, ways to automate or try and make your process a little bit faster. Once you're done, I want you to upload both the AI file and the .ase file to Canvas. And if you notice, there is an example of a finished document. Hopefully this is a help to you, and feel free to ask if you have any questions. Thanks.